Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome to an epic best of 5 in the grand finals of the ESL Open Cup 203. In the top right, spawning as our red Protoss player, the current number 3 ranked player in the world, according to a league log, it is MaxPax. And in the bottom left, as our our blue Terran player playing for Team Liquid, this is of course Clem, the number 2 ranked player in the world. So an EPT Open Cup Grand Final of epic proportions, and an Open Cup final that we've seen a lot in, I think, the past 4 weeks. We've seen it 4 times now. This is the 4th time, I think, going strong. Clem won the last 3 before this. In general, Clem has had MaxPax's number. They've been playing a crap ton. I believe out of the last 9 series, MaxPax won 1. Or maybe out of the past 10, MaxPax won like 1 or something like that. It's insane numbers. So Clem definitely having MaxPax's number as of late. But they do play a crap ton. They play 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a week. So they just play a lot of series as well. So losing 8 series or 8 best of X's against Clem might have only happened in like 2.5 or 3 weeks or so. As Clem opened up with a triple Reaper opening. This is an uncommon opener, trying to catch MaxPax off guard. That's a 5 Reaper opener. So far has killed 2 Adepts and only lost a single Reaper. Keeps the second Reaper alive. Pro pool here being utilized. And I think Clem is in a very solid position. Another fun fact, by the way, right now, is that on a league log, which usually is a fairly decent website for figuring out who's in shape, who isn't. It's not always 100% accurate, but it's good at giving an overall ranking, seeing who is where and who's good at the moment. Serral is rank 1, Clem is rank 2, and MaxPax is rank 3. All the races represented in the top 3, and all of them represented by a European. A Dane, a Finn, and a Frenchie in the top 3 on our league log. I don't think this has ever happened before in the history of StarCraft 2, where the top 3 on the league log were foreigners. There might have been times where I think Serral and Raynor were the best 2. But I can't ever recall there being a time where we had a top 3 being all foreigners. And it's really, really sick thinking about the fact that it's also all 3 races. It's wild, because for a long time, the only good thing coming out of Europe, except of course our cultural diversity, you know, the good foods that we have. French, well, actually French food ain't great. Italian food's pretty okay. German food, who doesn't love a bratwurst? Except for all of that stuff, we had Zergs as well. We had Zergs coming out of Europe, and that was pretty much it. No Terrans, no Protoss players that really meant anything significant at the world stage. Like, your showtimes would sometimes win a series. You know, they take out Maru, so well, that's big. Harstem would take a map from Maru, well, that's also huge, you know, best performance in years. But now, seeing MaxPax just consistently stomping everyone, seeing Clem just performing so freaking well, it is inspiring. And then Serral, of course, still being on top. It's really crazy how much better Serral is when it comes to that Aligalak elo as well. It is very, very impressive. I think currently versus Terran, Serral's Aligalak elo is, I want to say it's 3,800. And I believe the next best player has like 3,400 or something Aligalak elo. That just shows how good he is. That difference is huge. It really is. The consistency that these players have is massive. Let's talk a bit about the game as well, though, as I think this was an Oracle into Blink Stalker opener. Well, Clem opened up with what seems like some type of a 3-Rex follow-up after the 5 Reaper. So, early game perhaps being somewhat inconsequential here. Actually kind of like this position that MaxPax is in. The moment there are no mines in a Terran army, I like the Protoss position quite a bit, to be honest. And there are no mines, because of the way that the Terran build orders tend to work. You get 3 barracks if you play a 3-Rex, then you get a factory, then a starport. And during the starport building, the factory creates a reactor for the starport. And then the factory needs to start building mines, or first a reactor to start building mines. So there are no mines with the first push ever. It's simply impossible. It will be 2 to 4 mines, maybe with the next 2 medevacs, but even that is a long and boring process. This drop is dealing more damage than I thought it would. I thought MaxPax was, well, 5, 6 kills. Yeah, that's actually more damage than I thought it would. Also perhaps more than it should have. So 8 kills total. That's quite a bit here. It's going to keep Clem in the game because I didn't really like his position before this. Now I think it's somewhat playable at least. Robotic facility here coming out for MaxPax. Does have a large stalker count, by the way. Does he still have that Oracle alive? No, he's lost it. Happens fairly frequently to Protoss players. They end up losing that Oracle. Keep alive the entire time with a threat of mines and just flying into Marine. It's bound to happen. This is a bad position for Clem to fight. Look at that. 4 Marauders not fighting. I'm not quite sure what the heck Clem is doing here. What a huge blunder. Just leeching his own medevac energy and I think dropped like 5, 6 Marine, 2 Marauders. What an absolutely god-awful fight there by Clem as he's sending in a mine drop in towards the natural. There's no cannon in position. MaxPax, however, here smells blood in the water, decides to start moving across the map. He's like, hey, do you actually have enough to deal with just my stalkers? The answer to that is no. Well, then you definitely don't have enough to deal with my stalker sentry zealot army. Here comes that mine drop, does get 8 kills. That is big. Mine retargeting is happening here as this mine remains active, and that is going to be really the last line of defense here for Clem. As, well, the second mine hasn't quite dropped yet. Now it's going to unburrow in the third base. Needs to... Oh my god, Clem is so quick with these things. He's retaining this threat active. This is an active mine here in your third, so you can't go back to mining. Now it's going to get picked up here. Mine in the net did get cleaned up already as MaxPax now pushing in towards the third. Wants the target down, that CC. Not quite going to get it yet, but now taking out the SCVs will clear that command center. And in the retreat takes out 1 more Marine. We'll lose 2 Zealots here as well. There is a, a flanking mine. That's something we don't see every day. I think MaxPax in a phenomenal position right now. Sniping that CC is very, very important for him. As it looks to me like Clem is pretty much all in pushing over here. Is there any counter-attack possibility for a Max? Yes, there is a Prism. Zealots are being sent out on the map. This is one of those things that is very difficult to do. As a Protoss player, it's like, hey, I know I'm ahead, I know I'm under pressure, but the best way to relieve some of that pressure often is actually going for counterattacks. Because Zealots in a straight-up engagement, the moment mines are on the map, just not going to perform so well majority of the time. And these bad boys, they're going to perform... Oh, actually, there's mines here as well. There's mines freaking everywhere. They're here, they're there, they're everywhere. As MaxPax wants to fight in the middle of the map. Might end up losing this observer if he ain't careful. There's a bunch of these Widow mines. That is good. Medevac count fairly high though. Prism shows up, wants to probably go into phase mode and start warping in a couple of Zealots to go in towards the main base. What I would like to do at least. This is going to get pushed back. There's still vision with that observer as well, and it's 66 workers to 49. Third base now finally flying over as the Prism enters the main base. Not necessarily during a very active moment, but MaxPax is making this moment active because he's on the map at the same time as well with his Zealot Stalker force. He's not gonna get caught, starts fighting some of these bad boys. Would love to see kind of an elevator down in towards this third base as well. 10 workers do go down though, so this already was a very worthwhile trade here for MaxPax, who's transitioning into Dark Shrine plus Robo Bay. I think he might be underestimating his position a little bit, because all he really needs to do right now is not die. This actually is a very scary push. There is a super battery that's going to keep MaxPax alive. I don't think Clem can quite attack into a super battery. He snipes one of these Immortals. This is not a whole lot of damage output. And look at the supplies right now in favor of Clem. 77 army supply to 33. Clem still running around at home though, trying to defeat this Prism. I think getting a Viking would actually have been a pretty nice call here. Once and for all dealing with that Prism, because now you're constantly using what? 25, 30 supply to deal with a, well, 8 supply threat out of the opponent. If all of that was across the map, I think MaxPax would be in serious trouble, as 24 workers have gone down on top of the initial whatever it was. We have a lift down in towards the third base once again, so kind of just ping-ponging in between the main and the third base. Here is Clem. He scans the third base, and this is the desperation scan. It's like, hey, am I dead yet? And he gets the confirmation that there's a base there. MaxPax immediately throws down a cannon, afraid of any potential mine attacks, which I think is a good call, because there's mines aplenty here. That's the one thing that Clem ain't lacking, is mines. And once again, Prism comes in, not having a Viking here, I really think is a is kind of a blunder coming out of Clem. Two major blunders in this game. The first one being the fight in the middle against the Stalkers, where half of it, well, 80% of his force wasn't really fighting. And then the lack of a Viking, which meant he was just getting abused by that prison again and again and again and again. MaxPax here is in position, doesn't have a super battery available though. This is a large army. I'm not so sure if MaxPax can actually hold this fight as easily as I thought he could. He's losing a lot of these zealots as he's starting to bleed out a bit. Is there... No, there's no thermal lens either. This is a powerful force still coming out of Clem. Snipes this base. Yes, it is 66 workers to 26, but I don't think Clem's army cares very much about how many workers he has behind him. This is more... Though, if that Colossus gets sniped, that could have been bad, but as it stays alive, I think MaxPax might just be capable here of stabilizing. DTs being warped in on the other side as well are going to be, well, some welcome relief for MaxPax as he cleans up Clem's army and takes game number 1. One of the things that I think is really cool about these two players is that despite them playing each other so often, the games don't become predictable. And even though you can kind of reduce, for example, MaxPax's build orders maybe to 3 or 4 openers, the way that he kind of evolves out of them, transitions out of them, tends to be different. It tends to be more aggressive than what you'd see other people do. A lot of players in StarCraft 2 have defensive plans. They're like, okay, how do I defend X? How do I defend Y? Well, it feels with both Clem and MaxPax, they have very aggressive ideas. They're like, hey, how do I find a hole here? Like, how can I move? How can I maneuver? How can I get in and do something? Sometimes perhaps a bit too aggressive. Both of these players sometimes struggle with that, just wanting to be on the map at all times, while sometimes defending might just be better, you know, just working from a solid fortress position. But it does provide some insanely fun games in these series, despite them playing each other so much. This is going to be a defense here. Well, not the cleanest defense out of MaxPax, as he kind of messes up his Oracle micro there. Double batteries, I haven't really mentioned it yet, but he also took this base over here, this gold base, quite rapidly. I'm not even sure if he scouted, not really. No real scout has happened quite yet. He's gonna need a super battery here if he wants to keep anything alive, and even then he's gonna lose some workers. Yeah, once everything fires at the same unit at once, that's annoying. This is a good damage here coming out of Clem, honestly, it really is. MaxPax still going to be outmining his opponent by a significant amount due to, well, the gold and, of course, the rich Vespine geyser. You need less workers with 6 gold minerals to mine more than you mine with, you know, more workers on the blue minerals. And the same is, of course, the case with the rich Vespine. With the rich Vespine, it's even worse, but even with the gold, it's like, this is very efficient mining. And he's already upping workers, so... It's gonna be floating quite a bit of gas, though. Look at that. 415 gas in the bank. It's like, what do I do with this crap? We'll need to throw down either a Dark Shrine or a Templar Archives. Stalker in the mains trying to hold this, what is this, double Marine Cyclone attack. This is not a real build, or at least it doesn't feel like one. So Oracle shows up, no individual Marine pickup. A little bit sloppy there by Clem, honestly. As someone that's very solid when it comes to micro, definitely do believe he should have been capable of picking that up. Stalker's here falling quite low when it comes to the health. Another super battery gets activated. That's another 50 energy, and it means no battery, or well, at least no super battery available at this base right now. Clem perhaps finding some damage and reducing his opponent's worker count directly and indirectly, saying, hey, if you're producing workers right now, that's scary for you, and you should be busy with other things. So, well, 2 SCVs are being rallied across the map. These guys are a little bit too enthusiastic. It's not that time yet, boys. We can stay home a little bit longer. As a Fort Barracks now being added in. So perhaps Clem here opting for some type of all-in, wanting to deal... I'm surprised by that. Wanting to deal with this gold base. The reason why I say I'm surprised by that is usually when you all-in, as Terran, you want a high Marine count and you want to hit before any major splash is out. The reason why I think that's not so bright is because there is a rich Vespine geyser here. And often with rich Vespine geysers, well, gas is going to be invested somewhere, so that either has to be into Robo Base or into a Templar Archive. And Storm is extremely powerful against Marines. And of 2 base all-ins, it is very difficult to get Ghost as a Terran player. So I'm not a... Oh, that is an interesting blink forward here. I do believe that that was somewhat okay here for MaxPax. I'm not sure if it was. Maybe it wasn't. That looked okay for a bit, but maybe not so brilliant after all. So yeah, well, basically what I'm saying here is that Clem all-inning into this honestly seems a little bit silly in a way. Like the power spike of the gold has happened already. As in, or like the weak point of the gold has happened already. That is now past us. The next weak point of the gold is the fact that it only has 6 mineral patches and it mines out quite quickly. So I think going for like a 4x type of all-in here, I think this is misunderstanding the situation in my mind. Build a fast Viking this time, by the way. I like it. He's learning from his mistake. It's just gonna patrol it here in the dead space. Doesn't want to get caught off guard by 10 zealots moving in towards the main, of course. I think that's a very solid call here. Thingstalk is going to move back. Cyclones will be pushing this back a little bit. Perhaps you can snipe 1 or 2 Cyclones. Get a Marine here or there. Take a look at the defensive setup. There's an Oracle on top. There's really nothing spotting here on the bottom side, though. Observer moves towards the middle. A couple of storms available. And Clem is extremely all-in. MaxPax, by the way, has been struggling to spend his money. He's not used to the gold. He's like, man, that's a lot of cash. Going up to like freaking 10 gateways right now. You could also get like 2 Archons added on top of the already 3 Templar that are here. Economically, he's just doing so well. And if he gets to spend these 1200 minerals and this 600 gas, he's just going to add 20-25 supply into the mix. And that's something serious. A 4th base makes sense because this one's about to, it's about to run out. But it does kind of show that MaxPax doesn't entirely understand what Clem is doing. Clem is all in. He is all in. This is an army consisting of a lot of Marines, 23 Marines. That means that these Templars are going to be quite effective. As mines need to be taken out, just letting them shoot and then keeping them alive is not usually a very good call. Zealots getting caught here as Clem had a couple of units at home, always prepared. More Zealots running in from an alternative angle, looking for a 3rd base, which isn't quite there yet. Have a double drop heading towards the bottom side, so Clem saying, yes, I'm going for some type of all-in, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I can't multitask. I can multitask while all in. That's how good he is. Ghost Academy being thrown down as we have a Robo-Bay coming in as well. And here comes the multitasking. Ooh, these Medivacs are going to get spotted perhaps by the Zealots. No, they won't really. He's going to need something here for the Medivacs. Cannon gets built. That is mines. Those mines are in position. Drop towards the main base does get stopped. Perhaps a recall is available. I mean, I think it's going to be necessary almost here. 9-10 workers do go down. Clem needs to evacuate from this position. Loses another mine. It's been a bit sloppy with leaving mines behind, I think. I think both of these could have been saved, and one mine wasn't even burrowed. Here he's committing quite hard as well into the Templars. Gonna get stormed all over. And that is a very, very sad little fight there for Clement. As he moves in between the refinery and the minerals with his army to try and defend the Zealot run-bys. That is going to work out. That's all fine and dandy, as one could say. GG's gonna get called though. Clem says, hey, I don't think I can do this anymore. I wonder if that's true. I wouldn't have minded if he just waited for the Ghost a little longer. I think he was so aggressive over here, but again, he believes he can't win no more. We're gonna have to live with that decision. And here in game 3, MaxPax doesn't want to deal with any type of eBay blocking and decides to send his first probe straight across the map to do a little bit of barracks blocking. And this is one of those things where I think I might have slept on it. I really do believe that I underestimated how much this does against a Terran when it comes to initial Reaper timing, kind of delaying that. When it comes to just being capable of harassing as well. This is poorly done by MaxPax. He's going to get hit while trying to recharge his shields. That means he's going to need to wait another freaking 10-15 seconds here. Can't really continue his harass. But the way that usually you make these types of analysis is by checking the difference in CC timing or Nexus timing. So we're expecting MaxPax to throw down a core here, right? I hope he doesn't actually get that Zealot. That would be very weird. A normal timing for a Nexus is to go down at 132. And he could have gotten it at about 134, 135. So it is about a 3-second delay. And if you take a look over here at Clem's base, he had money at 142, which is also about a 3 to 4 second delay. However, you also delayed your opponent's barracks by a little bit. And usually, Terrans don't scout if they're getting instant scouted by a toss. So I actually believe this to be worth it if you throw it in there every now and again. The reason why I also don't believe it's very good, these types of early scouts, is in case you are being proxied, it is just straight up bad for the Protoss. This sounds weird, because you're like, well, I scouted very fast, surely that is good. It's like, no, because you have less money, so it's harder to defend early on, and you're not going to be in time to usually stop the barracks. Unless you find the barracks with a second probe, then you're in a good spot. But if you don't find the barracks and you can't cancel it from building, you're just going to be behind 3 to 4 seconds for no real reason. And that sucks. That's not very fun at all, let me tell you that much. It's not a good start. This Zealot is practically, well, yeah, it's just useless. I'm still confused as to why a lot of Protoss players decide to send a Zealot across the map like that. It almost never serves a purpose. As here, MaxPax gonna be following this up here with Blink Stalkers. Second gate already coming down as well. And we're gonna have to wait and see what he's going to be capable of doing here. No, he's gonna be capable of doing a whole lot, but you know, what is he gonna be doing? Double Adept, third Stalker out, so that's 4 gateway units before Warp Gate, of course, including that Zealot. See how he's going to execute the build. The robotics facility should be the next structure that we're waiting for. He gets one of these little SCVs here. That's nice, at least. That's quite nice. Not gonna lie about that. Reaper arrived on the other side of the map for the first time in this game. Is it a Hellion? Yeah. This is a typical Clem move. So a lot of Terran players would say over here, like, oh, I want to use the Hellion and Reaper to defend these against these Adepts. And Clem says no. Like, this is what I was talking about before. If there's an aggressive option, like, these guys will take it. And this is definitely an aggressive option, right? Hellion moving in. You could use it defensively, but no. We use it aggressively. It's gonna get a couple of kills for that. Get confirmation as to what it is as well. It's gonna end up losing it. It was a lot of mining time though. I think that was a solid 10-15 seconds of mining time on one of these bases. That's what, 150, 120, 125 minerals, plus killing 2 workers. So that's the cost of the Hellion there. And the lost mining time of the 2 workers that we killed. So really just a very good trade overall. An easy Hellion sandby. And yes, you lost a little bit of mining time, but you're not as saturated as the Protoss is. So yeah, Clem playing very well so far this game. I much prefer his position in this game to any of the other games. Although last game in the early game, it didn't look so bad either. It's just that 4 barracks seems very confusing to me. We're gonna get a double mine drop in here, which I'm not as fond of this particular move, to be honest. If you're playing against a 3-gate blink attack, it is much harder for Protoss to deal with a medevac that's idling in dead space, rather than a medevac that is returning back home. Like, killing 2 workers is not really worth it. Leaving 3 Stalkers at home, that's real nice for Terran. You know, if the Protoss is forced into leaving 3-4 Stalkers at home to deal with that potential drop. You can even rotate and maybe deal damage in the main. And especially if you're as quick as Clem is, you're gonna usually be capable of finding some damage. MaxPax here jumps past the bunker. Okay. Trying to find some damage. Gonna lose a Stalker at the same time is in the main base as well. This is kind of a cute move, I'm not gonna lie. He says, hey, I don't think I can actually kill you straight up, so I'm just going to be harassing. I'm denying some mining in the main base, and then I'm still going to be warping in extra Stalkers, of course, because this party ain't over quite yet. I'm not producing any workers, as he's kind of supply block here. Sloppy play by Max. Throws down a Forge, is floating a solid 600 minerals. That is a lot of cash to be floating. Forge goes down as well over here. And those 3 pylons. That was a lot of worker production here that's being missed. And immediately he walks into another supply block as well. So we're really lacking a lot of worker production. Clem's position is getting better and better just because MaxPax is making mistakes when it comes to the macro part of the build. Starport now under some heavy fire. Stalkers try to play. That was a really cute move. Just blinking forward to try and snipe 1 SCV and then with a quick pickup. I really did like the way that MaxPax attempted to deal some more damage there, because let's face it, he needs some more damage. He's killed 7 workers total, and I think he missed like 5 or 6 rounds of probes himself, so He needs more. He really needs more. Because right now, this is looking solid for Clem. And usually when Clem is in control of a game, it is difficult to get rid of Clem's control in the game. Like, if he's in control, he's in control. You know, he's there. He definitely is there. Let's take a look at the vision creation here for MaxPax. Nothing on the bottom side. Have an observer on the far left. It's going to allow him to spot drops. I think this probe is, going to build a pylon over here. I like this as well. This is a good move. You have batteries going down in the natural. You have a battery going down at the third base. I think a fourth base might not be a bad call here. You want to get that, but at the same time, Clem is a big army. But the longer you wait with that... Wait, what's this? Oh, it's an auto turret harass. Nice play here, Clem. Clem managed to sneak that out there. I didn't even quite notice that. Did the battery get cancelled that was being built in the net? I think it did. I think it did, for sure. 6 more zealots being ordered. He went up to 10 gates. So that's going to be a delay on his fourth base. And right now what MaxPax wants is for Clem to move across the map too quickly. So Clem, like, this is the power spike. Or well, 30 seconds ago is when MaxPax was the strongest. And every second that goes by in which they're not fighting is going to actually be a good second here for Clem. Because Clem's army is getting better and better and better. While MaxPax, he's relying on that fight. Look at that. No gases. No fourth base. What is his future? He has no future. That is his future. He only has minerals here. Look at this. His army is garbage. Well, right now it's still okay, but every 10 supply that increases lowers the chances of MaxPax winning a fight by 10%. It's just impossible to fight 160, 170 supply of bio with mines if you're relying on pure zealot. Like, this fourth base is gone. I don't think you can hold this, can you? MaxPax is gonna try. This might be an error, though. He has no vision of the situation either. He can't attack into this. I think he's going to need to get to terms with that. I really do believe so. Five SCVs have gone down at the same time. Once again, this pesky little prism is showing up. Clem is not panicking. No desperation attack into his opponent. We'll lose 2 mines. That is painful. We'll lose 3 mines. That is painful. Might even lose this top one as well. That would be uber painful. As 2 auto turrets get thrown down at mediocre positions. And we'll get hardly any kills. Viking is going to be out fairly soon. And that's going to stop this prism from being capable of doing all that much. $55 workers to 58. I mean, Clem is in a fabulous position. I think for a long time people believed that if Protoss and Terran were even in bases and somewhat even in workers, it was okay for TOS. But I think nowadays it's kind of common knowledge that if you're not up a base as a Protoss player, you're probably going to be losing against the Terran, because Terran's mining is just too good. Their units against Zealots are too powerful, and you need Zealots. This is kind of this weird paradox of Protoss, is that you really want Zealots, but you only want them because you need to build something. Like you don't have enough gas for other things. You need a lot of minerals, so you build Zealots, but then when you have a lot of Zealots, you want to get rid of them because they suck. This is really the sad reality of Protoss. Unless you have like a massive upgrade advantage, Zealots don't ever trade well against Terran armies. It is simply not possible. You need insane flanking in order to make them somewhat effective. And the moment ghosts are out, they fall off even harder. So here we go with an attack as... nah, this ain't it. 2 force fields actually kind of funneling a lot of the Zealots as well there. They didn't quite close the gap behind the bio either, so no full surround. And here, yeah, I mean, MaxPax wants to get rid of them, so he sends... Oh, what is this? It's like 15 Zealots? 20? 16 Zealots. Sends them all across the map, so he's gonna keep a couple of Zealots in his main army. Yeah, this is looking fairly bad here for the packs. He's gonna lose 4 or 5. He wants to trade. He doesn't just want to throw them out. He doesn't have the cash to instantly rebuild whatever he wants, as he's sticking with a low gas setup. I think getting a second forge at this point would be a wise decision to at least buff those gateway units a little bit. You have the cash for it as well. I think there's enough gas that you can take too. You could go up to a 5th or even a 6th gas. He's still only on 63 workers though. And I actually do believe that MaxPax needs to be thinking about a 5th base already and seriously saturating this one. The fact that this base isn't fully saturated, I think, is a major error right now on MaxPax's part. He's just not mining enough. He really isn't. He's not going to get any decent fights here. There's a lot of Vikings in the mix. Zealots now moving in. Mine, of course, in position, as is always the case. And committing with this many Zealots into this position when you see the main army still so close, I think that's pushing it a little bit for Max here. He decides against it. So he takes his 5th base, but still on a low worker count. I really believe he needs to get to a worker count of at least 75, 76, 77. We do have that second forge going down. Finally, one can say. I think it's a little bit late. I'd love to have seen +3 already starting to research at this point, so you get something of an upgrade lead. Now you're going to just be barely ahead in upgrades the entire time, just by 1 maybe. Actually, currently he's up 2, which is not bad. But his opponent is on double eBay already, so that ain't quite brilliant. 4th base being set up here for Clem as he constructs a 5th command center as well. We have the Zealots being chased home by this single Marine. Maybe the Zealots believe that there's more where that Marine came from as the Prism finds a way in towards the main base. Oi, oi, oi. All Vikings are out on the map, and the Prism does get taken out right now. These will get EMP'd and thus revealed. At the same time, MaxPax here, this is the thing, is MaxPax doesn't wait for a situation to be chaotic. He creates a chaotic situation and then jumps on the opportunity to start making moves. This, however, was not a very good fight. Lost a lot of supply there, did not quite deal the eco damage. If he had killed 20, 25 workers during this push, you could say, yes, he's down in army supply, but at least he has an advantage somewhere. Right now, he has an advantage nowhere. He's going to perhaps even lose this Colossus if he ain't careful. Tanks sieging up forward. Tanks not very useful in armies usually, but Clem is using them, well, in an optimal way here, optimal fashion. On top of this ramp, of course, MaxPax still up a little bit in mining, but needs to be so careful. Needs to be so darn careful. Hasn't started his +3. There we go. Finally does start. As the upgrades are equalizing, ship weapons is on the way. And the moment ship weapons starts, before the first real disruptor count is there, that tends to be an issue for the Protoss player. Because this basically means, this indicates that what Clem wants right now is transitioning into Liberators at some point. It's like, hey, in the near future, I probably want to add a 2nd starport, if he doesn't have it quite yet. Oh, he already has one. He already has the 8 barracks as well, so soon as fusion core time. And there's just nothing that MaxPax currently can do against Liberators. Like, he can't even fight this army yet, let alone the next step. He's like 1.5 miles behind. That's a lot. That's a long. It's a very far distance. Well, unless you're like in a race car. Well, might be doable then. If you're by foot, 1.5 miles. Can't even see the guy. That's awful. 8 workers are being taken out somewhere. I think that's DTs. No turrets, despite these DTs being spotted earlier already. MaxPax actually getting some damage on, but at the same time losing his entire army. Perhaps not a great trade. And it's also not enough damage once again. There's also 5 command centers right now that can be producing SCVs at a time. So this is really 24 seconds of command center production and you got them back. Now, if you're taking out 40 SCVs, it's a different story. But even now, taking out 10, 12, 13 workers, it's nice, but it's not the end of the world here for Clem, you know? He can just rebuild them pretty rapidly. Here comes a big push. I'm not sure if MaxPax has what it takes to defend this. Actually, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have what it takes to defend this. Here comes the flank to try and take out this tank. Does take out the tank, but all the Zealots lose their life in the process. And with those Zealots, as well as well, the rest of the army being gone, I don't quite understand how MaxPax is planning on holding this 5th. And if he loses the 5th, he's in serious trouble. He really is going to be in serious trouble. No anti-air to deal with the Vikings. He's jumping on this Bioforce. Disruptors don't quite hit, and that is going to be it indeed. GG gets called as Clem wins game number 3 and puts himself back in the series. And in the 4th game, we have a very different type of opener coming out of MaxPax, where usually he's very keen on the core before Nexus. This time he opened up with a Nexus before core, indicating that indeed he will go into a Stargate. Clem, meanwhile, with a Reaper opener as always, didn't go for a scout. And instead is using his Reaper to scout around right now. Factory here. in the main. Okay, it's all very standard. Second Marine as well. Because he didn't scout, he's building the second Marine. So it is a little bit of theory for the people that are interested. If you want to fight against a quick adept and you want to clear it from behind your mineral line, playing Reaper into Marine is a good way to do that. However, because you build a second Marine before Reactor, your overall Marine count will be lower later on in the game, right? Because your Reactor is delayed and Reactor allows you to build 2 at a time. So you have, I believe it's 1 less Marine that you get. Oh my god, this is really bad by Clem. This is actually really bad. You should finish this 100%, yeah. Getting the full scout, confirming it's a 2 gas, which is nice. This is not revolutionary information. Also, just getting some damage dealt to these SCVs, maybe even killing one. That's really nice. I generally really like this. I think it's almost always good to finish it, unless there's 3 Marines out already, plus a factory unit. You're also forcing the Reaper back, which is nice. Like, it's just overall good stuff. Real good stuff. Clem hasn't scouted his opponent yet. Oh, this is going to go into Phoenix Colossus. Ah, okay. I've fallen out of love with Phoenix Colossus. And specifically because of Clem. Specifically because of Clem. I used to be the biggest advocate for Phoenix Colossus. I told everyone to play Phoenix Colossus. You struggle on PvP, play some Phoenix Colossus. It's good, it's easy. Then I started playing a bunch against Clem. And he has a way of finding damage where it feels like there shouldn't be damage. So he'll send like... It's hard to explain, but usually Terran has kind of set patterns in which they attack, in which they drop. You know, they attack with 2 medevacs, they rotate towards a different side. Like they'll go over here, move towards the left after, and then they clear some vision, try to drop in towards the main. This type of stuff, you know, they tend to work very... It's a medevac-centric approach often. Clem, when he plays against Phoenix Colossus, he has a way more chaotic style. So there will be like 5 Marines coming from this angle without a medevac, while there is a medevac with Marines going to the main. At the same time, there's a medevac from the right side that's flying in towards the natural, and there's an army near your fort base that's also threatening your natural. And the way that Phoenix Colossus works is that it's really hard to split up your army. You can have 2 groups of army splits, the Phoenix and the Colossus, and you can deny air threats relatively well if there's a single air threat, because Phoenixes usually stay together. But it's extremely difficult to defend multiple kind of air angles as well as multiple ground angles with Phoenix Colossus. So this is something that when I was playing against Clem, I couldn't get a grip on it at all. Like I tried a couple of times, and it just, every time I was prepared for, you know, the movement he did in the previous game, but I was never prepared for the movement he was doing in the current game. And I do believe that this is a very cool way of playing against Phoenix Colossus. It's a bit risky, like everything that Clem does. It's also quite powerful. Ooh, that's a nice lift there, huh? That is a real nice lift there, buddy. That is solid stuff. Absolutely solid stuff. I love the way he did that. With the ops, like this is one of those gimmicks where if you know your opponent loves having mines near refineries, like who puts an observer over here in surveillance mode? No one does that except for MaxPax, because he knows it's going to be the case. And here we have 2 more mines. It's kind of hiding above that barracks. You can't quite see it, I think. Maybe you can see one of them here on the right side, but the other one you definitely can't. So you're gonna need an observer for that as well. Observer now just moving back home, which is interesting. You'd say, hey, keep it aggressive, so you can see when the move out is happening with how many medevacs, but that's not the case. So one of the things that's very important when you're playing against Clem is counting medevacs, because there's going to be a split off. Like you see, he's already splitting up his army. Ooh, see that instant pickup? So now you need to know as... Oh, that's MaxPax split off one of his Phoenixes as well. These guys are just playing on a different level than what I do. It's like they're so aware of the possibility of moves that the opponent can go for. They're just so good. They're so good. So right now, if you can see that there's just a single medevac, that is a huge piece of information, you know? It's, ooh, this is a split off as well. Yeah, okay, this is what I mean. He just has no medevacs with the main army right now. There's 2 medevacs active on the map. As Clem decides to unload after getting spotted by this pylon, we still have the double mine threat though, and the next 2 medevacs are now coming in. We have a split off perhaps of this army. This might even go to the right side. Okay, this army joins back up. Here come the mine. This mine. Oh, it's armory mine as well. It's not a regular mine. That is very frustrating. Here comes an attack out of Clem. Goes in towards the natural. Burrows these mines. But the Colossus pops at literally the sickest timing ever. That is a huge moment there for MaxPax. What an absolutely brilliant play there by El Maximus Paximus. Or well, maybe a lucky timing. I don't care. The Colossus popped at the right time. All the Marines stuck in the back there. Took a couple of big swipes to the face. And that ain't nice. This ain't Tinder, my friend. It freaking hurts. Puff. Templar Archives behind it. Okay, that can only mean one thing. That MaxPax is keen on moving out here. Has a second observer with his army. He says, hey, the start was good. If I can keep this up, if I can push my opponent back, if I can go across the map right now, I'm in a really good position, but I need information for that. So rather than straight up rushing into a prism, going across the map, he says, no, I want to establish a solid defensive base from which I can push. And this I really like. I think this is a good call. You need an observer as well, of course, because you have these armory mines. It's going to be difficult to deal with otherwise. Phoenix is here. I think took out a medevac. I'm sorry for missing that. And at the same time, Max moving forward. Oh, it's not actually going to lose anything there. 3 medevacs flying through. I wonder if MaxPax saw that. Yeah, he's sending his Phoenixes back home. Warps in a big round of Zealots. That was a nice spot there by the prism. Needs to de-engage, what you call it. Disengage, there we go. Needs to disengage for a second. As a Zealot round by hits the natural, MaxPax needs to return completely with his main army. This fort base is toast. We're lacking mines, though. This is one of the things we're really lacking. Mines just in the middle of the map. Observers have been doing a good job cleaning these up. 10 mines have fallen already. And that is the big difference between MaxPax and maybe some other Protoss players. This observer was absolutely key. I can't stress how key this observer was. And just the overall defense in that early game is not easy. It really isn't. Because you're working with such limited information. You have no pylons outside because you can't defend them. So you'll just end up losing them majority of the time. MaxPax was like, that ain't happening to me. I'm using all my resources defensively. And I can react to everything if I'm quick. Here comes a prism in the main. There are 6 Vikings out. But they're not in position. They're at the front here. That means that the prism is going to be safe. That's a neat pickup, by the way, on that mine. Holy crap. There's a couple of Ghost EMPs here. There's Guardian Shields helping out. And MaxPax is just rolling over his opponent here. 8 SCVs falling already in the main base. Zealots. Oh, no. Dealing so much damage. At the same time, though, this is being pushed back. That's a little bit dangerous. Another big Zealot warping in towards the main. There's 1 EMP available. Will not get used before the Ghost ends up dying. As MaxPax is now returning home. I think he recalled here, yeah. Has 4 Colossus total. Probably wants to get Blink at some point as well, because... what's the Stalker count? The Stalker count is low, but all of his Phoenixes have died, so... Yeah, okay. Blink is coming out right now. Man, this is some nice gaming here coming out of MaxPax. Some real nice gaming coming out of MaxPax. Although, that being said... How good was this, actually? He killed 11 workers. He lost a lot of Zealots, huh? His upgrades aren't brilliant either. Like, was this actually overall a good defense by Clem? He has Vikings, he has Ghost, cleared the Phoenixes. There's no 5th base yet. It's going to be thrown down soon. We're still working off just a single forge with a second one on the way. If Clem can start his upgrades right now, which I think he can. I don't think there's anything stopping him from starting his +2 attack. I think he's fine. He's relatively fine here. It's not great. He's still down in supply. But he survived. Double mines here, burrowing. Oh my god, Maxi. So fast there with that Zealot movement. Sees the double mine burrow. Do we still have observers active on the map? Yeah, we have 2 actually active on the map. Just maneuvering around these mines with the Zealots. Having the patience to kind of dismantle all of these mine positions individually. That ain't easy as the Mine Marine combo almost gets the prism. 6 HP remaining. I mean, this is a suicide mission at this point, Mr. Warp. That is not gonna happen. That is not gonna happen. As MaxPax here, still looking for an angle, looking for a way to engage into this. The prism stays alive. No silly moves in towards the main. Good decision making all around, as is always the case with MaxPax, of course. Blink, now available, snipes the first Viking here in this fight. There are 5 Vikings versus 4 Colossus, 18 Marines, 14 Marauders and 3 Ghosts. Army composition-wise, I think MaxPax is looking powerful. Army size-wise, I think he's also looking powerful. And upgrades, well, it's +2 versus 1-1, so fairly similar. No Guardian Shield in the comp, though. I think MaxPax needs to hit now. This army is going to lose quite a bit of value pretty soon. We already see the Disruptor transition coming in over here. Big Blink forward will manage to snipe 1 or 2 of those Vikings before they truly get to put in any damage whatsoever. Prism in the far back is providing reinforcement into this position. 12 SCVs have gone down already. 2 of those Colossi are shooting at the command center, which is not what you want. 150 supplied to 130. And I actually do believe that MaxPax here might be breaking through. Yes, too many Medivacs, too many Vikings, not enough ground units. Despite the army supply still being equal, Clem decides to tap out. What a great little fight there, just before +2 of Clem. A great way to end this series. Phenomenal play between the rank 1 and the rank 2 currently in the world, according to Aligalak and according to me. That, my dear friends, is going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I really hope you did enjoy this. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to comment as well. See you all next time. Ciao, ciao.